Hi, my name is Alex Beckman,
And I'm Gabe Hambrick.
and we're here to talk to you about some Pico development questions that Gabe and I have.
Mhm.
Our other member, Asif, because of scheduling complications, will be in the next half of this video. It has been a very busy week for
Yes.
fourth semester clinical hours, but we'll start here, and we have a couple of Pico questions for you. I'll start, and then Gabe can chime in with his. Some background, I'm currently doing my clinical in Providence, Portland's ICU. And so my Pico question template is in ICU patients, how does the use of chlorhexidine caps on central line access points compared to simple alcohol sanitation affect the prevalence of central line infections? And I chose this question because first, I have firsthand experience with critical patients in the ICU. Um, it is a very important problem in terms of morbidity and mortality with the patients. Um, it is extremely resource heavy. It costs a lot of money and a lot of time to treat one of these infections once they happen. I also happen to know that it is one of the benchmarks for magnet certification, which is extremely important to Providence, Portland. And on top of that, it's widely researched and understood because of its importance.
hmm
And Gabe, what about you?
So mine actually came, I think it's interesting that both of our questions kind of catered to our clinical experience because I'm in a med surge critical step down unit at Kaiser Sunnyside. And one of the major factors that influences whether or not somebody goes home or goes to a sniff is pressure ulcers. Um, Almost every patient has a specialized mattress for um, pressure distribution, especially because we have a lot of patients who are comatose, who have hip fractures and have trouble moving. So as long as their bed is plugged in, it can help them prevent those pressure ulcers. But I wanted to research whether or not that pressure mattress would help existing pressure ulcers or even put the patient at more risk. Um, so I just thought it was interesting that we both came up with questions that cater to our clinical experience.
Yeah, that is interesting. I have a background in long-term care, and not, I would say most of our patients are at risk for pressure ulcers just because of they're medically fragile, but
hmm
less than half probably have standard hospital air mattresses.
hmm
And so I would love to know whether or not those prevent further skin breakdown.
hmm
Like what is uh, the evidence base in that
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Um, and so why do you think it's important to you because of patients going home?
It's important to me for that. And then also um it makes their stay if a patient has a pressure ulcer, it makes their stay much more complicated. It
Mm,
changes the amount that they have to ambulate, the amount that, and me being shift specifically,
mhm.
it's very hard to get the patients to want to move or do anything at all because they
Oh,
just want to sleep, right? They're loaded up on their pain meds.
yeah.
Um, and if they have a pressure ulcer or one starting, we got to go in there every hour, every 2 hours and turn them and drives people crazy. So if there's
Mm.
any way to prevent that or to prevent one from getting worse, it's very valuable in med surge specifically, but uh healthcare as a whole.
Okay. Awesome. All right, so this has been the first half of our video. You will see me and Asif in the next half with his Pico question. We'll discuss it. And by that point, we'll have decided what our main Pico question will be. And thank you for listening, Gabe. I appreciate it. Have a great night shift. Hi, we're back for the second part of this video. And
We need
Asif
an
is able to
encore.
join. All right, Asif, let's talk about your Pico question.
Hello, my name is Asif. My Pico question is, in psychiatric clients presenting to the ED with acute behavioral disturbances, how does the implementation of a dedicated psychiatric assessment by trained psychiatric nurses uh, compared to the standard ED triage and assessment procedures affect the length of stay, improve patient satisfaction, or decreased rates of violence and aggression? And the
Okay.
reason I chose this question is because my clinicals, which inspired this also, is in the ED, and we get a lot of psychiatric patients, which I don't believe they necessarily need, oftentimes need to be in the ED. So this was something that I've been thinking about for a while, regardless. So I was like, oh, this would be a great Pico question.
So you'd want to see more of like ideally a dedicated triage team.
Or specifically psychiatric.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
for psych patients. Okay.
There's not much we can do for them, in the ED. It's like we keep them stable, but besides that, like, what can we do for them,
Right, right. And my clinicals at Providence, a lot of it is like people come into the ED, they're treated, turfed and then they go to the ICU if they're critical, and then they get turfed up to the psych floor, but we don't see much else outside of that. So I'd be interested.
So yeah, Legacy Mount Hood, like we've had psych patients stay there for the whole 12-hour shift, just chilling in a room doing nothing. We're like, hey, still good in here? Cool. Do you need anything? No? All right.
Nice.
Like 12 hours of that.
All right. So I talked with Gabe and we talked a little bit off camera, and our group has decided to go with the second question. In ICU patients, how does the use of chlorhexidine caps on central line access points compared to simple alcohol sanitation affect the prevalence of central line infections? And so this will be our question moving forward.